Hi, my name is Stephanie, and today I would like to talk to you about something called person-first language, specifically how it relates to autism. So, just a heads up, this is a non-scripted video, and that usually means sometimes I go off into things that don't make sense, so hopefully we can keep ourselves on track today. So if you didn't know, I just recently started college. I'm pursuing a degree in occupational therapy assistant. So to become an occupational therapy assistant, it's an associate's degree, and one of the prerequisites is intro to occupational therapy. And within that course, I was introduced very quickly to person-first language, shortened to PFL. What is person-first language? Person-first language is kind of how it sounds. What that means is you're putting the person in front of the disability or the descriptor. So instead of saying an autistic person, you would say a person with autism. Instead of saying wheelchair bound, you might say person who uses a wheelchair. Instead of saying schizophrenic, you might say a person with schizophrenia. So those are just kind of some examples that I try to come up with very quickly. The idea is that you would put the individual before whatever disorder, disability, or whatnot. And the whole reason for that is trying to show respect, that you're not just a diagnosis. So in this article that they had us read, it was very, maybe, I don't know, opinionated, passionate, I feel like. It was very passionate about, making sure you use person-first language and not being disrespectful in the way that you use your words, which I appreciate. I think that definitely people should be seen as human beings and not as a problem. But there's a whole thing kind of going on with the autistic community, and maybe the reason why I think more frequently now use the term autistic instead of with autism. So when I was younger, I was taught that you always use person-first language, and I didn't know that it was a term. I didn't know person-first language was what I was being taught, but it was always like a person with autism, a person with Down syndrome, a person with blah, blah, blah. A person with special needs, which they also kind of harped on special needs. To be fair, I don't really know what else to call it, all of the things in general. So if you guys have a better term that maybe people aren't irritated by, unless if it has to be like specific in those situations. For example, if you work with a variety of people with different disorders and disabilities, then wouldn't that whole group be special needs? Or is it frustration when people say they're special needs instead of just saying autistic? I don't know. So for that part, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on. Back on topic. So why is this kind of an issue with autism or the autism community? A lot of times people get very upset when you call them a person with autism instead of autistic, which it used to be like really wrong to say autistic, and you're supposed to say person with autism, and I think that comes from the person-first language kind of movement and ideals. Well, here's the thing. With autism, it's really about how your brain is wired. So autism is an integral part of who I am, and a lot of times people will share the picture where they show autistic and they show a person, and then like you have like autism for like the brain, they're autistic, and then they're like person with autism, and you have a person who's like carrying a bag and the bag is autism, like they're just kind of together with it like it's an accessory. So that's kind of how a lot of people feel about it. People feel that autism is an integral part of who they are. It's their neurology, how their brain is wired, how they see the world, how they experience the world, how they express themselves. And so for them, it's kind of insulting to say, oh, you're a person with autism. And in this case also, it kind of gives that connotation that autism is a bad thing, that autism is something you wouldn't want to recognize as part of a person. So when you're saying person with autism, person with that disability or that problem, we want to recognize that person before the problem. Well, a lot of people with autism don't see it as that problem or an insult or something maybe derogatory to be considered as. So a lot of people on the spectrum prefer to be called autistic instead of with autism. Now, this is like one of those very big preference things. I have now kind of just gone with autistic just because much of the community would prefer to be considered autistic because, again, it's part of who they are. It's part of how we're made. And and it's not, you know, just like a disorder that comes or goes. It's not a disease. It's not a thing that is just an accessory part, but an integral part. Whereas maybe the inability to move your legs at will might not be a part of your personhood. It might affect you, it might affect how you do things, but it's not literally your personhood, whereas autism is an integral part of your actual personhood, if that makes sense. So I do think that autism is a bit unique in that sense. I do wonder if other communities have this kind of debate or issue, but basically what I want to say also to the autism community, who very highly prefers to hear autistic, your service providers, so like your caregivers, those kind of people, the doctors, nurses, etc., OTs, PTs, whatever, whoever works with you is taught that it is more respectful to say person with autism. So if they say person with autism, they are not trying to be rude to you, they're not trying to be disrespectful, they think that that is a way to show you respect. And this is where it kind of gets tricky too. So hear that a lot of people in the autism community say, no, I'm autistic, I'm not a person with autism. Well, that's great, but when a person is professionally trained to say with, etc., and use person first language, they could get in a lot of trouble for maybe saying autistic to that one person who would really prefer to be called a person with autism, because the standard is person first language. So I do want to like give you a heads up on that, because I know a lot of people get kind of up in arms and kind of upset about being called a person with autism instead of autistic. Honestly, I don't care that much, but I can understand where the connotation can lie, that, you know, saying with autism makes autism an accessory or something maybe we desire to get rid of, or just something negative instead of part of who we are. So I hope that explained for both sides maybe why the autism community prefers autistic over person with autism, and also why the medical community and professionals and whatnot might still say with autism, and maybe where people are coming from with person first language. With all things, I think this is one of those situations where I don't think it's worth getting really upset and really crazy about. I know that there was a picture being shared around social media where there was a sign that said autistic child or something, basically to let people be aware that there was a person on the spectrum or an autistic person in the area and they were a child, so who knows if they would run into the road and couldn't communicate with you or didn't realize they needed to get out of your way while you were driving. It was one of those yellow signs. Well, with those signs, there's a reflective kind of coating on it, so at night you can still read the sign. Well, someone who believes in person first language without understanding why, one, autistic would be more concise on a sign, and also why autistic is not an insult, scribbled over it to say person with autism. But when they did that, it was not reflective, so you could not see the message at night. So this is one of those situations where you can have your opinion about something, but please don't like freak out at other people for it. You know, don't go mess up a sign that is actually helpful and important and probably costs a lot of money to be able to, you know, get put up. Just because your opinion is it should be with autism. And I'm sure they came from, you know, a good heart. They really thought, wow, how rude of people to not use person first language. But I think it's just one of those things where you have to understand both sides of the issue and not freak out at people and not do crazy things like ruin signs that you don't own. Anyway, I'm sorry if that was a little bit repetitive or a little bit random. Again, this was an off-script video. I just want to be able to get it out here together for you guys. Just an update for those of you who follow me and watch me a lot and who may have actually participated in this. I am still working on the ABA video. Here's the deal. I'm in college, if I haven't said that a million times. If you're interested in some of my college-related things, check out my third channel real quick. You know, just put it in a new tab while I'm talking or something. If you're not familiar with my third channel, it's like a vlog channel, kind of just more me being stupid and doing stupid stuff and talking to you. So if you're interested in that, check that out. But anyway, I am going to college, so that's really cut down on my time to work on YouTube and videos and stuff like that. However, I have, as of this recording, 2 interviews to do with ABA scheduled with people. So I'm still working on that. I really want this to be a good video. I don't know if I've gone deeper than I need to. I really don't, but what I really just want to say is that I'm still working on it. But in the meantime, between time that I have to really work on that video more than just collecting information and now, so there's There's some time between then and now where I'm actually gonna have time. I'm gonna try to do some videos that might be a little shorter, might be a little less scripted like this one, to just kind of bring you information, news, thoughts, etc. still to post on this channel and everything. It just might not be as in-depth, but I am still working on a much more in-depth video on ABA, probably in a similar vein to the Autism Speaks one. Anywhoosies, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, how you prefer to be addressed, what you think about person first language and the with autism versus autistic and all of that jazz. Let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to hear from me about autism related things, then you should definitely hit that subscribe button. I try to post to this channel every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!